Support Narrative's independent journalism at patreon.com/narrative and check out our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe and download. Hey everybody, welcome to a Friday night special edition of Narrative Live. It's the after show. We've done one of these before and it was quite fun because we get to drink. Well, they get to drink. I get to watch them drinking. So let me introduce everyone who they are. Eric Garland is joining us from St. Louis. How are you? Good.
Wonderful.
LB, whose silhouette you see there in the bottom left corner. How are you doing, LB? I'm
good.
And Greg Ollier, how are you doing from outside of New York City, I believe? Well, inside New York City, but outside of Manhattan.
Look at that now that I can start drinking this.
Oh, that does look delicious. What is that?
That is a Manhattan with Rittenhouse rye.
Oh, very nice.
Best rye there is.
Oh.
Yep.
Do you have a special recipe? Is that your thing?
Yeah. You just, don't be skimpy on the bitters. Is the
secret? Okay,
yeah.
There you go. So we've had quite a week because last time we were together, we did this very intense, 2-hour broadcast of everything you ever wanted to know about Robert Maxwell, or we even were afraid to find out about Robert Maxwell because we told you everything. And the reaction has been really good to that show, but we never got a chance to sort of debrief. So it's good to have you guys back and talk about what was quite a big week. Let's begin by some news, though, before we get into that. And there's news today with Roger Stone.
He's going to prison. There's no pardon. Take any deal you can get.
Well, we think he's going to prison, right? It's a think situation still.
Well, all I know is the D.C. Circuit minute ordered. I believe Judge Berman Jackson ordered. Nope. See you, Roger, on July 14th. Thanks for everything. Goodbye. All I know is I know Trump's gonna pardon him. Where are the pardons? Why don't they pardon him?
Why don't they pardon him?
Because they're co-conspirators, and he would have to admit guilt to get a pardon, which would implicate Trump implicitly, and then he could be impeached or prosecuted for that. Right. And he can't do it, so there are no pardons. Take any deal you can get, treason weasels.
It's one of the biggest things that people keep forgetting about is the reason he can't hand out these pardons is because he's so guilty and he's such a co-conspirator that they can't go there. They just can't go there.
They have to have
proof.
Barr.
Go
ahead, Albie.
They have to have Barr shut down the investigations. That's the path.
Which he's doing such an incredible job of doing, incredibly bad job actually of doing. Yeah. Because this week he was trying to go after Michael Cohen's cases, which are presuming Michael Cohen is still cooperating. It seems like he was with Jeffrey Berman, and that they were investigating some new cases. It does appear like Barr is trying to shut that thing down as well. Current investigations that are currently underway, not even just things that are in the courts being adjudicated right now.
Bill Barr is trying to shut down an investigation? What are you talking about? He's the Attorney General. He would never do that.
There's a great moment, I don't know if you guys saw it, where he was asked, is there a single case that doesn't involve the President of the United States that you're trying to shut down? And he couldn't come up with an answer.
I got $5 that says, in July, we'll find out that Bill Barr tried to shut down the investigation into Lee Harvey Oswald. I can't prove it. See you in July.
There'll be aliens here soon. Yeah, Mr. Cleanup on IL Trump is doing a good job of actually cleaning up for the president. But it's kind of depressing, really, that the rule of law has come to this. It's a good thing we're drinking tonight.
Hey, we didn't talk about this. What do you guys think about how Nadler is holding these people accountable? I know, Greg, I'm in complete alignment with you from what I've seen you say on Twitter. Go ahead.
This is
let it out.
Serious stuff here. This is serious stuff. The Republic is under attack, and we're at this is fucking crunch time. This is like, if this were a basketball game, it's 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter here. What are you doing? All this writing of letters, and we're gonna eventually subpoena him, and maybe he'll appear in 6 weeks, and then in another month we'll find some excuse for him not to appear. They have all of these powers that they can at least try to use. And I don't know why the Democrats are so resistant to like trying shit. The one thing about the Republicans, they'll like try stuff. You know, like when Mitch McConnell said, "Oh, Merrick Garland, yeah, we're just gonna, you know what, we're not gonna vote on that." Obama could have tried something. He could have said, "Hey, if you don't vote on this in 60 days, we're just gonna assume that it's okay and put him in anyway, and I'm gonna order it and let the courts figure it out." That's one example of Democrats not trying something. I mean, the last Democrat that tried stuff was FDR. He tried a lot of things, and some of them worked and some of them didn't. But he was trying stuff all the time, pushing the limits. And this is the time. I think that they already found Barr in contempt of Congress.
Right.
That was last year. Arrest him.
He's so
Take his
impeachable
money.
by now. It's incredible.
The impeach thing, I mean, I think they should do it, but like, fucking arrest him. Subpoena him tomorrow, and if he doesn't appear, arrest him and throw his ass in jail. The first time one of these fucking guys has an actual consequence for misbehavior, they'll all stop. Like when they breached the skiff, that was insane. Like if I did that, I would be shot. So why the fuck they're just let them do it? There should at least be tased. I mean, the guys that were guarding them, you know, I'm not even joking. Like, why are they letting them in? I don't care who these fucking people are. They're not allowed in.
It would have created a victim narrative. I think they wanted all those guys, Matt Getz and those guys, they're so owned because you can be shot dead for doing that. And that's not a joke for those of you at home. The guards of those skiffs, you are authorized to use deadly force to prevent anyone from even getting in. So running in with pizza and your cell phone, bad idea. Good way to get shot. Well, those guys are owned. They don't have anything to lose, and if they did, they would be told to lose it by whoever owns them. And if they got shot, that would create a victim narrative. So letting these guys...
I'm not saying shoot them. I'm saying, like, physically, these places are guarded
I'm not against shooting them.
Pick them up bodily and throw them the fuck out like they're drunks at a bar. And Matt gets to know what that's like. I mean, hasn't he been 86 from a club before? I don't know. So Nadler seems like a nice guy.
I agree.
Nadler's a nice guy.
Okay, well, LB, go for it.
No, it's like, I think it's maybe the parenting sort of residual in memory of, I can't look at any of these insane men mostly and not see that they just are screaming to be stopped. It's like they're still running amok, and just as a parent, you just need to, this is pick him up by the back of the shirt, put him in the thing, time out, right? That it works. Put the boundary there. Say we're not messing around. We're not messing around with this. There are all these tools, and I can't remember who it was, but there was someone on the Judiciary Committee, even when Gomer was doing his best, Rupert from Dirty Rotten Scoundrels impersonation of banging on the, there's nothing that says I can't make noise, bang, 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 as these career professionals and experts that everyone had a chance to, both sides had a chance to bring forward someone to speak on behalf of what was going on at the Department of Justice. And Gomer's banging around like Rupert. And so I don't remember who it was. On the Judiciary Committee was saying, I recommend that you bring the Sergeant of Arms to remove this person.
Yes.
And bring him in. Get him out of there.
Start
doing that. I don't care what kind of wailing they do in their 4chan, Senate staffers involved, PR response, Fox News, Twitter.
Parlay.
What is that? Parlay, whatever the hell they're on now, in their echo chamber of whining and bitching and snowflaking their way all over everything and just to trigger everybody. I don't care. I don't care about that. I don't care about those voices anymore. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Throw them out.
There is actually no place to take them. There's a little prison down below, and it's not really functional. It's not really functional. And
it can just be locked in a fucking room until the thing's over. Jim Jordan, no mask on, next to Nadler, is inexcusable.
But
Get the fuck out.
Let's get back to
Don't you have
Nadler.
a shower to hide in to watch some boy get molested? What the fuck?
Let's get back to
Yeah.
Nadler, because Nadler is, meant to be leading the charge here. I mean, to be quite honest, he was meant to be the head of the of any inquiry into President Trump's impeachment or anything like that, and that they sort of they pushed him to the side and let Schiff take over because he was doing sort of this inept job. And yet he's still meant to be the man who's looking after the most important branch of the United States Constitution, and he's not doing a very good job. Are you suggesting that he should be removed from that position as the committee chairman?
I don't know that he
Me?
needs to be
No.
removed as much as
Yeah.
just do your job. Just show some spine here. And if
Would-
you can't, let somebody who does have spine do it.
Would you consider someone else for that job? Is there somebody else on the committee or elsewhere in the House that would be better for that job?
Swalwell, he'll take it.
I think it's important to remember that Congress is supposed to do oversight, and their executive action is supposed to be relatively limited. Look, Adam Schiff, as head of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, he had the ability to do things like he did, such as refer Eric Prince, do a criminal referral because he lied to Congress. This is also what happened to Roger Stone. But you don't want, congressmen are there to make the laws, not execute them. So there's a limited amount those guys can do. You really want most of the stuff to come from the executive branch, which is the DOJ, which has got Bill Barr in it. So we are at an impasse. I'm not sure. I don't want to be fair to Nadler that there's only so much you can do. Also, there's so much counterintelligence involved in this. There's so many spies in the butthole, as our friend LB says. They've got spies in the buttholes all over. That goes to intelligence. And while I believe the three committees that have a top secret clearance are Judiciary, Intelligence, and Armed Services, I believe Intelligence has the most regular briefings and access. I believe just so. They're going to defer to the Intelligence Committee in that case. So I'm not sure Nadler can do as much oversight of Bill Barr as possible and ask him to come. But the guy is this lunatic going from pillar to post, just shutting everything down. So, I mean, what are you going to oversee? The guy's clearly a criminal, and he does need to be arrested. And it's a complex step because it's the FBI and the DOJ that would need to take him down. So not necessarily Judiciary, although I would like to see gibbering idiots thrown out of congressional hearings. So it's
almost like it's like the Windows, theory of crime prevention, where the broken windows, if you don't fix them, they lead to more stuff. Like these little things add up, and they keep pushing the envelope and pushing and pushing and pushing. And I really do. We haven't even attempted to fight back in any meaningful way. And I get like writing letters to here and going to the courts and establishing the legal precedent for blah, 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 blah. But there's things that they can do, simple things. Making Jim Jordan wear a mask is not complicated.
They did, right? They got him to wear it, right? At the end of the day. They got him to wear it.
A muzzle.
A muzzle would be better. A muzzle would be way better.
That's fine. The guy banging on the thing, take him out of there. Just take him out.
Well, the man we want to take out is Bill Barr at the end of the day. The man causing the most damage to the rule of law in this country right now is Bill Barr. I mean, it's so flagrant and horrible. But there was another oversight issue that came up after our show this week where I guess the Trump administration is asking for the powers of oversight on arms deals to be taken away from the Congress.
Oh, my God!
Which is basically like screaming, we made an illegal arms deal, so we don't want you to come and see it or have any oversight over it. But this is an actual thing that's going on. There's an actual proposal. They want to take away that oversight capability, which is stunning, especially because of what we've been reporting lately, that there's been a series of arms deals, probably for over decades, involving the same crew of people, especially to the Saudis and others. So it's interesting that they basically are saying, yes, we did it, but we don't want you looking here.
Yeah, do they watch this show?
They must watch the show.
It's like, cover up the arms deals. Yeah.
I mean, think about how ludicrous.
It reminds me of when they tried to change the ethics rules, right? When they first into power, that was the first thing they did, was to make the ethics regulations less onerous.
Yeah, they're just not fans of any oversight. But in this case, this is fundamental, I think, to the Constitution. This is why we've had a revolution in the United States, was to get rid of foreign invaders, and certainly you wouldn't want to be arming those foreign invaders at the same time. And yet here we are continuing to do that. And that to me is amazing that they're willing to consider that proposal. It's more dangerous almost than the judicial stuff that's been going on.
It's very dangerous. I wonder how much is arms and how much has everyone just pivoted into data. It seems like that's what the same operations, the same fucketeers in the middle of the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and even early 2000s, trading all these arms, making all their money, merchants of death. Mm-hmm. Then get Bill Barr in there, cover it all up. Those guys seem to be moved into data now. You've got now the Eric Princes of the world, even him. His sort of future and his sights are set on security software. The privatization of spy tools, mm-hmm. And how can he get them and sell them and push them into China, and let's put all the Uyghurs in camps. And this is where, it feels like they're in that space now pretty solidly.
Oh, I changed the picture. I wasn't trying to show me that. I was going to move on to something else, but it jumped by itself. I apologize. Keep going, LB. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. That's fine. I'm just, Africa's certainly a hot zone still. There's still all these massive hot zones for pushing arms out. I don't know. We have to get these people out. I just can't believe that everyone thinks it's okay for any of this to go on for one single second more.
Well, it could be another term. I mean, people are, this overconfidence about Joe Biden winning is dangerous, because we've been here before. We've been down this road before where we're sort of like, oh my God, this man.
Yes.
It's dangerous to be predicting that Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden is going to win, because
I'm going to speak up as the independent. Yeah. I'm going to speak up as the independent. I'm registered Democrat now simply because my sweet little polling station, they got so confused at one point in the last time I went to vote that I'm like, let's just, California can register same day. So I'm like, okay, let's just make me a Democrat and then it'll be clear to you. Because they were just confused of whether as an independent I can vote on a Democratic ballot, which of course I can. But as the person who's been outside of that, I can tell you the Democrats have such a hard time winning. Not just getting a win, but there's like this suffering. I've never seen so much fucking suffering in my life. This guy, Joe Biden, is really ahead. This president is really fucking weak. We're about to see another 100,000 Americans die needlessly, at least. It's coming, right? This is unbelievable, the situation we're in. I don't know what the fuck is up with the stock market, but that's eventually even that over sort of held up by the rickety rackety crickets of mobsters trying to hold their shit up so they can still have all the capitalism in the world and their tiny little fucking their island hideaway. What, you're gonna go hide in your bunker with $8,400 billion and do what, motherfucker? Eat your data? You still have to eat food. You still need to play it. You're gonna eat that fucking data? Is that gonna keep you safe?
I've got 100,000 Tinder profiles. I've got adult friend finder profiles.
Fuck off. You're in the same fucking boat we're all in. And when that fucker crashes, right, and this whole thing goes down, Biden's going to be in a great position. He is in a great position right now. Democrats need to get in this love affair with fucking winning. Stop suffering over having an advantage. When you have an advantage, you go harder, you press harder, you roar.
Yes.
You say, yes, we're fucking winning, fuckers. Eat our shit.
Yes,
you don't
but
go, I'm so afraid.
There is a proven track record that people can actually be stopped from going to the polls if there's too much confidence in who might win. So if there's too much confidence,
no,
yes, there is.
Fuck, too much confidence. Too much confidence. That's not confidence. That's like, yeah, we're gonna fucking put our. That's like having fire. We're gonna keep our fucking foot on your fucking throats. We're gonna fucking kneel on your goddamn necks. How do you like it? We're gonna fucking bury your asses.
Zev, this is America.
Apparently, this is America.
America, we like
sitting there
dinner.
going, I'm afraid of the winning. Fuck off. Get your shit together. You know, put whatever you got to put up your ass. Put a rocket up your ass and light that on fire and send that to the fucking polls. You're not going to stay home. People aren't going to stay the fuck home.
No. Oh, I think they will.
Come
I
on.
think people stayed home
No.
for Hillary. People stayed home for Hillary. People
This
stayed
is not
home
an
for
election.
Hillary. But people
This
stayed
is
home.
not an election. The 2016 election was a perfect storm of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Hillary, and I will never ever say anything bad about her. But she was the victim of a 30-year negative press campaign. Like
she was a victim of
to make people like my dad.
We don't think that's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. You're going to get the same.
Not with Biden.
It's
not enough time.
It's different.
It's not,
totally different.
Okay.
People know. People are not dumb. They show us dumb people on the news all the time, but people are not dumb. They know the Republicans are trying to take away the Affordable Care Act as we speak here.
Shocking.
And people know this shit. Why would you do that during the goddamn pandemic?
Why would you do that? Why are they making so many
Because
terrible
you're an
decisions?
evil, greedy fucker. That's it. I mean, because everything Trump does is bad. Like, there's not one thing that he's done in 3.5 years is the thing that a normal, sane person would have done that had the country's interests at heart. I don't think there's one thing that he's done.
Yeah, I can't think of one thing either, really, to be honest.
Yeah, it's always, how can I inflict the maximum amount of pain, fuck up the country, and enrich my whore masters in Moscow and elsewhere.
Speaking of whore masters in Moscow, you could go ahead, Eric, but I'll use that bridge later on because it's so good. Whore masters in Russia.
That's not going away.
Take me back to whore masters if we could.
Take it to the bridge. I just wanted to build. As American, I wanted to build on the fact that, what LB's talking about and our focus last few weeks on the mid 80s and remembering that era in the United States where you got to go back to the late 70s and the malaise and the 18% mortgages and how it sucked. And, whatever the backstory of foreign money coming in or whatever the hell happened, we're still trying to work it out. There was a thing that the Reagan era brought, which was like, fuck yeah, we're winning. Because he came in and, Carter had been saying, well, maybe wear a sweater if it's cold, and wear a sweater inside, and maybe unemployment will go down at some point, and your mortgage will be 14%. And Reagan came in and he said, hi, I'm a handsome guy from Hollywood, and you remember me from some movies, and I was governor of California. We're awesome. The Russians are fucking evil. This place rules. We're going to make a bunch of money. Here's a ton of cocaine. Wall Street's going to make a bunch of money. Here's new cars. Fuck yeah. And then he took 49 states in 1984 because Americans, we invented the happy ending. We believe that life is not zero sum. We really are we're a bunch of optimistic freaks, people who got on the boat in Poland or Southern Italy or Vietnam or wherever and came and was like, fuck it, let's do this. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. And we got here and we've made this impossible thing work over the centuries with all its messes and the stain of slavery and all this. We still somehow make it work, and that's in our DNA, where it's not in the Russian DNA, it's not in the French DNA of like, well, probably this will suck. And this is what I want the Democrats to grab onto. It's like the other guys fucked up. They put the mob in the goddamn White House. They let the Ruskies in. You remember the Ruskies? They're back. Well, fuck that. And we won. Ha ha ha. He's down in the polls, and just spike the football and don't. And that's not saying, oh, he's up. I saw on 538, sports betting and voting betting, that wonderful website there with all their methodology. It says they're going to win.
With the mysterious sports betting algorithm. Yes, that one. Who knows Paul Manafort's daughter?
Really?
Yes.
Yes,
baby.
Okay.
Hey, look, there are numbers.
Let's trust him. Trust him.
Whore masters in Russia? Can I do that? Whore masters?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I got a correction to make from the show last week. I accidentally said that Donald Trump had visited Moscow in 1987. He did, but it wasn't with the three business moguls that I showed him visiting with was in fact, here they are, with his lovely
Yeah,
wife
he
at the
was with
time, Ivana.
There they are.
So I had the wrong information up. I wanted to apologize, but also it gives us an opportunity to talk about whoremasters in the Kremlin and how this man from 1987 till now has been in power and seems to be taking orders from the Russians. Any thoughts about this? And then I'd also like to hear your thoughts about Khrushchev's son passing away this week, which was an interesting thing that happened. You guys go ahead and still see it.
Ivana she's very interesting, and it's one of those things where I don't tend to go there with the wives because there hasn't been the right kind of investigative reporting on them.
Mm-hmm.
And not that I've come across, but there's all these, you know me and my details. It's just details that pop up and stick in my head, and I'm like, I gotta somehow resolve that thing because it's weird for me.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the weird things for Ivana, for me, not to mention all the mobbed up shit she did in those casinos, she was in there with the big boys, and they paid attention to her. Like she knew what she was doing at some core level with these fucking gangsters. But later on, Sarah Palin talks about how when she was in Alaska, like working at the Costco, or maybe she was just at the Costco before she was a politician, and Ivana Trump was coming to Alaska. Nobody knew why. A book, maybe? She had a book. And so Sarah Palin reminisced about this as this notable experience for her, this woman that she just looked up to and respected so much. This glamorous Ivana Trump is coming to Alaska. And I could see Russia from my house, and maybe she can too. And this was years ago. So, and she met her, and they had an exchange, and wax, poetic about it. I find that very curious.
It is really interesting. You wouldn't expect the two of them to get to meet each other.
Why the fuck is she in a Costco in Alaska?
What's also a bit curious.
What is that?
Alaska belongs to the Russians, doesn't it, officially?
They want it, and Sarah Palin's husband he's in that AKIP. I don't know if they're divorced now or whatever, but he's in that Alaska independence thing, and they were part of that whole thing, which turned out to be a Russian movement.
You can't look at Melania. You can't look at Ivana and Melania and think that there's a theme there.
It's a theme.
There's a theme.
There's a Soviet theme going on there.
I see a Soviet thing going on.
There's a Soviet thing, and their accents get worse.
Right.
It's bad.
So when
they
realized,
become more Soviet.
One of our followers said today on Twitter that it's interesting that Epstein actually bragged about introducing Melania to Donald Trump. And learning what we have about Epstein's extraordinarily long, potentially multi-generational operation on behalf of the Russians and Israelis, maybe he did introduce Melania to Donald Trump. Maybe that actually did happen. And if it did happen, that would be interesting.
I feel like we have to say, just because Epstein bragged about doing something doesn't mean that he actually did.
For sure, we don't know.
I don't know that I necessarily want to go there and believe it, but to humor you.
Yeah, humor me. Whoremasters in Moscow.
It does add up. She was the right age. She's the right profession. There's lots of weird shit about her coming over to the United States that still has not been explained. She's not a worthy recipient of the Einstein visa that we're aware of. Mm-hmm. And I think if she did anything to make herself worthy, we would be aware of it because Trump would brag about it. There's all this weird stories about Trump would have a picture of her on the back door of his office in some provocative pose, and he'd be like, "Hey man, look at that! Isn't my wife hot? Don't you want to bang?" And it's weird.
Yeah.
The whole dynamic there is very, very strange.
And she gets along well with Putin. If you've ever seen them at a world event like the G20, they love each other. They get on well, which is always a red flag to me. But
especially since he likes little boys. What is that? What is that about?
I don't even go.
We can say that Alexander Litvinenko was poisoned for that information.
Is that true? I've never heard.
100%. It's in the British inquiry. The formal
Okay.
British inquiry into his death, put that on the record. High British court.
All right.
So we could say it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've said it. We just have.
There it is. I said it. Come and get me. I'm going to call you a pedophile because you were one.
But let's say he still enjoys the company of a beautiful woman at a G20, and he gets along really well with her.
Oh, sure. Everybody likes a piece of arm candy.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like that? Especially one that doesn't really care about anything and wears jackets.
Yeah,
She's
and she doesn't really live in the White House. Apparently, she's staying at her.
No, she does not.
She lives with her parents. And she comes in for appearances every once in a while.
Apparently,
I heard
we were talking about this on the
Potomac.
on the show.
She's got a house.
Yeah, Noel was saying that it's in her contract. She has X number of appearances, and that whole fake Melania thing. He insists this is Noel Castler insists that it's real. That there is this body double that shows up.
Oh, I'm sure there is. I've looked at those photos so closely in the past, and I'm like, that's not her. It can't be her.
I find her very
I don't know.
boring.
Yeah, she's very
I'm just like, she's not. Of course, she's going to be nice to Putin. They speak the same language, and Putin isn't a fucking moron like her husband is. So.
Right.
Oh my God, someone nice
She picked the
Does
wrong
she speak
guy.
Russian? She does speak Russian, right?
Oh, she speaks 8 languages, by the way. Yeah.
No, that's what she says. But
no, I think she does. I think she does. She speaks many languages.
So she could actually talk to Putin in Russian and be like, "Hey, look at this idiot next to me. He made me come here."
Probably nightly on a phone call or a secure phone line. She could probably do the nightly.
You could speak to him in English, and Trump wouldn't understand it. So it's fine.
That is all.
I just have this image of this sort of the residential part of the White House where the presidents actually live, and her on the phone with Putin all night long giving Trump instructions would be an incredible image. I'm just an image. I'm not saying it actually happens. It's worth going there.
Yeah, maybe.
I
don't know.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that direct.
He's got Jared. He doesn't need her. He's got Jared. He's got his wife Jared in there.
Right.
Jared's the only one taking care of him. Jared's setting up back channels. Who needs Melania when you got Jared?
This is actually something I wanted to talk about, going back to the Maxwell and everything else, and just about conspiracies and how they work. Mm. And I think it's really important to note that everybody involved in a conspiracy has different motives slightly for being involved in the conspiracy. They have different motives. They have different things that they want. Sometimes those things align. Sometimes they don't. And things don't move as a monolith. And conspiracy theorists of the tinfoil hat variety tend to make that mistake where they say, well, this person once sat on a bus with this person, so they have to be connected to the da-da-da. And I always am, I've made that mistake before in my past work years ago. So I'm very cautious about, going all in on anything that even suggests conspiracy stuff. So I don't know that Trump is taking orders on a day-to-day basis or anything like that, other than having, as editors at newspapers do, having a vague knowledge that, yes, Mr. Murdoch would prefer the coverage to look like this, we think.
Right.
I think that's a stretch, but I think having a partner who, maybe 2 partners that have found him and become close to him, as it's someone that they're grooming for potential presidency, I don't think that's a stretch at all. I think that's
no. I don't think that's a stretch.
Status quo operational.
Yes,
and Lev, I don't want to say that you're guilty of this. I just want to say it in general.
It's fine. You can come at me. It's fine. But I also think that there's the case I'm making around it is not the nightly focals. The case I'm making is that there's 2 women who are both of the Soviet bloc, of origins from there, but also that have found their way to him and that have led him to this powerful position.
They have groomed
partners.
him in one way or another.
Yeah.
So Ivana's grooming was very much in his positioning. I mean, you don't go to the Soviet Union and sit at the Kremlin and then come back and go, I'm running for president. Something's happening there. And the way she was really into his businesses. And if you read the reporting at the time and the things that Donald himself was saying at the time, he was not, that didn't work for him so much. I mean, he was fine with all the other stuff it seemed like she was doing for him. And, of course, raise the kids because I don't want to bother with that. But he got a little testy if she had too much authority or knowledge in his business, and got competitive with her in the businesses. And she really could run circles around him. So here's this person who is possibly handling him, whose father and family came out, out of the Soviet. We're still in the Soviet Union at that time, and her dad was very connected to the Kremlin. And she very much appears to be an operative in many ways. She's, the thing about the guy dying, the son that died this week that you pointed out at the top of the show, Zev, of the head of the KGB.
Khrushchev's son, I think.
Khrushchev's son.
Who's living
died.
in the
We
United
don't
States.
know. Bullet to the head, but they're not saying suicide, but I don't know if they're calling it natural causes. I'm not quite sure what's being called right now.
They're saying no foul play, which means
no foul play,
suicide,
but I guess essentially means suicide. Took his own life. So, she knows what she's doing. And at a certain point of her knowing what she was doing and being able to run circles around him at the same time, it didn't work for Trump, even though we had Khrushchev at the time saying, I'm focusing, and the other guy, all of the KGB saying, when it comes to who we're going to focus on in the West, we are going to focus on businessmen. We are going to focus on traditional stuff. It's not always just going to be about getting our moles in on the intelligence side. It's not just going to be about trying to flip somebody inside. Let's go for these businessmen. Let's go for these powerful people who have an image that's powerful, that we can turn and manipulate and use, because they're the ones that politicians come to looking for checks. And they're the ones that, you can get a lot more, you can flip a lot more fishes into the trader pond if you've got a guy that is sort of a symbol of the checkbook that's under your wing. And so there was a real push for that. Then in she goes, and she brings him over to Soviet Union. She's then in his businesses as well, looking and seeing and getting to know all the characters and the players in that, and actually doing a great job running the fucking company. She did. She was good. He was burning through Fred's $400 million. Like, he was just coked out and not knowing what he was doing. His brother Robert's in there. Everybody's in a panic. Weisselbeck's trying to keep it under control. His dad's getting dementia. The gangsters are like, fucking just squeeze him. Just fucking bankrupt this shit. Right? Because he's just out of control. And the only thing holding a lot of that together was Ivana.
Yeah.
So, Melania, I don't know. I think it was just make his image look good. He's been sleeping with too many. He's been, gone Howard Stern talking about ogling 15-year-old girls. Let's at least give him some eye candy, put it in there, and make it look like he's got a trophy wife and he's calmed down. That's all hurt.
I think
I can't see her having a job beyond that.
Eric's dying to get in here, but I just want to say one thing. When I'm just think about all these people who've surrounded Trump over the years. Thomas Barack, Stone is another person, Melania, Ivana. There's a group of people that have either come to him or he's found, however it is, but they've all got these connections to the Soviet Union that are, Manafort, whatever. There's so many that can't all be accidental. Epstein, Maxwell. There's just so many that it can't be accidental. This is what happens, I suspect, if you are a target of an operation like this, which is trying to groom you into a position to become an asset to that country. And Eric, I'll let you jump in here.
I was just thinking about how many employees at its height that the KGB had. I think the official number was somewhere over 1 million.
Yeah, lots.
Soviet citizens, and you think about the skill set they developed, how much they put into that, and how we're discovering this in our research of how long these things go on, and that that we've come to the inevitable conclusion that it never stopped. Mm-hmm. I think we're talking about what was in today's news that was really compelling. There was a story about Trump being briefed that Russia was paying mercenaries in Afghanistan a bounty to kill American soldiers, and Trump did nothing. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get much closer to pure treason than that. And it's Russia, their money, they did this. Plus, we're taking down Russian criminals and mob bosses all over the place. We're starting to rip the final Band-Aid off here, Russia. Mm-hmm. China, too, but, our main adversary. Russia for all these years, and it just if you think that, wow, they never stopped, wow, this is transnational organized crime, wow, they're not the only game in town, but they really quarterback a lot of this and do a lot of the innovation. Wow, it's Russia. In some cases, it just comes down to some real simplicity. Wow, it was Russia the whole time. Not every single thing, but
it's a lot of
they
Russia.
never stopped, and there still are. And this has maybe been one long war from 1914 onwards.
Well, it certainly looks like Maxwell and Epstein were part of some operation together. At least they were a continuation of an operation. Epstein was of Maxwell's. And Maxwell was, firstly and foremostly a KGB asset. That is what he, has been identified by everyone in the world. The FBI did an incredible job tracking him in the 1950s. They found him to be a KGB asset. I think, Greg, you pointed out someone in the UK found him as well to be that. I mean, this guy was clearly that. And so this began so long ago, at the end of the Second World War is probably when this story that we're seeing culminating in the Donald Trump and the rise of this mob-infused executive, that began at the end of the Second World War. And it's very hard to sort of wrap your head around, well, that's all happening over such a long period of time. But it appears that's exactly what happened.
I mean, the Russian intelligence was doing major work and innovating its basic techniques even prior to World War I, the Okhrana. So they were getting involved in race politics in, I believe, the late teens, early 20s in the United States, and they had dealings as soon as the revolution happened. They had dealings hustling the English Empire and the British Empire and the French and whatnot. These guys have been at this a long time. I'm going to say, looking at Stalin coming up in the 30s, and him going through the 50s. I'm going to say a lot of our basic issues predate even World War II. Mm-hmm. My theory for a while has been when we look at World War I up to today, I think historians 100 years from now will not say World War I, World War II, because World War I used to be known as the Great War. We changed the name after the 30s and 40s. And then the Cold War, etc. I think we're going to call it the war or the war for modernity, or I'm not sure. But it seems like once we invented some of the major technologies, public health, flight, logistics, nuclear weapons, information technology, it has been a battle royale all over the world for who's going to control it. And the people that had the biggest visions were the United States and Russia. And that is really the main battlefield that we've played on about who's going to control this. And I think if you boil it down even further, is this going to be law, or is it going to be mobster pirate chaos, which is Russia stealing from serfs, stealing other people's ships, stuff like that. And America, with its spotted history, but with the intention stated of creating a more perfect union, starting in the stain of slavery and all its other problems, of genocide, all that stuff, but saying, we are that, but we're going to get better. And if you get up to, where America's finally, America didn't have a standing army in the 19th century. It was only in the 20th century. And as it enters World War I, that America's full might starts really coming out. And, Russia, and you hear this Third Rome concept, very clearly there's, a deep thread in Russian culture where they're like, no, we should rise to greatness here, and we should take the rest of Europe. And I think in many ways we've collided for that century using a variety of proxies and technologies and whatnot. So,
and that brings us all the way back to data, which is now the final frontier in terms of who gets to control the world. Because certainly Putin has said very loudly that whoever controls data and whoever controls AI, which is basically data, controls the world. And you look at the world that's on those levels, and that's on those stakes. And now you've got something to really fight for, because there is going to be one leader of data. And it's not so much about who owns the data, but it's under what circumstances that data is owned.
Yeah.
Like, is it my data that the government is using, or that Facebook is using? Or is it the government's data, does the government own my data and your data? And is the government then becoming which is the Russian model, by the way. The Russians have pretty much staked out this turf that they want to run data as a government resource. So all the Russian data is their resource, which is not something that's very healthy to freedom in any way.
I think then the American model that we've been fighting over, the one that's trying to emerge, the one that does not exist with Facebook, Google, and all the others, that is, can we make the rule of law protect data so that our data is ours, our DNA, the things we say, photos, things we choose to share with others, are those secure? And if you break into those, is there a law that punishes you? If you share somebody else's without their consent, are you liable civilly, criminally? Or do you have an autocracy that says anything you do, we know about? And when you start getting into the psychological operations of we're actually data, we're going to make you do things, we're going to change your mood. That's a form of slavery, cognitive slavery.
Oh, for sure it is. For sure. And that's the battle for freedom. This is the battle for freedom we're fighting now.
This is the battle is for people's minds. This is what we're watching. We're watching it in these, these people showing up in front of like a Florida legislator, and they're in there and they're blathering on, their minds are gone. They're talking about, masks, and you're taking away God's oxygen and all this horseshit. These people we're watching, and everyone's like, oh my God, we're stupid, or oh my God, they're in the Facebook thing. No, that's what a military grade psychological operation looks like. That's what it looks like. Everyone that has lost their, and not to think that haven't had, this is propaganda is a weapon. It's a weapon. When it's coming out of, when it's been distilled and perfected within an intelligence agency, can do this. I saw her whole screen went like, I'm sorry.
It happens from time to time.
So much fury.
So much fury. A glitch in the thing. But this is what I'm trying to wake. And I put a tweet kind of like this out there today because someone else had tweeted something that one of the accounts I just love. I don't want to over promote him because he's pretty quiet, but probably the best music account out there.
Oh, you've got to do it now.
Puts up new songs. Oh, Buffalo Sojourn. Like, oh my God, that's it's only because I've had tequila. I'm doxing this thing that we share, that this is his name is Sean, and he puts music in DMs with me that I swear to God are saving my life. And it's on that Twitter, because Twitter's such a hellscape. Right. But anyway, so he really just an insightful man, Canadian.
There you go. There's Canadians like music.
Oh, the Canadians, my best. Our neighbors are so amazing. And he put out a tweet.
You like it?
Oh, I love it.
Maybe we won't play it.
Yes.
But I was digging it for a second. Okay, it's causing my system to collapse, but maybe it'll come back. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
But anyway, so I retweeted his tweet and put a little more clarification on it of, people, this is the war. They're coming for our brains. They're fucking with our minds on a mass scale. You have the Cambridge Analytica scandal that exposed that. You had the whistleblowers from inside of that saying, yes, we were making psychological warfare tools, right? This was all happening. It's still happening. And it is happening without our informed consent. And that is against the law. So our lawmakers don't have to invent anything new. They have to pull Mark Zuckerberg in front of them, understand what he did. It's not that hard to get, and hold him accountable to the rule of law. You cannot conduct psychological operations on innocent civilians without their informed consent. That's an experimentation.
I do think they've got to create something new, though.
Minds.
I do think they've got to create something new. I think that there's not enough laws in America or really elsewhere.
But fine, create more. But how about use the existing ones?
Oh, yeah, for sure. But we have to protect what's going on. Our data is going to be misused ad infinitum with AI taking more and more of our daily lives and all of the normal processes that we take into we assume it's just going to be humanly based. AI is going to take all of that over. And as it does, it's going to know more and more about us. It's going to know such great detail about us that we will lose control of our own destiny. And so I do think that there is an important tipping point happening right now where we have to protect our privacy rights, and we have to protect our data rights, which I do think requires something new. It's not something we've ever had to do.
Oh my God, are we talking about singularity here?
Oh, we are talking. We are.
Only with tequila.
I want to talk about that because this period of time is analogous to the time, like around the turn of the last century, where businesses had so much power and the corporations were so big, had so much money, and had so little regulation that the only thing that could stop them was the federal government. And the federal government for a long time didn't want to do that because they didn't feel like it was their job. And people like John D. Rockefeller is a brilliant guy. If you ever read about him, he's a spectacularally smart guy, fascinating guy.
Who was a criminal.
Yes. Oh, so good. But they knew, even the business people were like, guys, we kind of have to have a little regulation because this is chaos here. And they were going to do whatever they could do to get their monopolies and this and that until the government rose up and got as big as they were and was willing to fight them and understood what was happening. And I feel like this is the same kind of thing. We're in the same kind of place because the whole, Facebook, Google, internet stuff is not, it's not media, or it's not considered media, and it's not considered publishing. It's like this thing that nobody knows how to classify it almost. And we need to have stronger laws that figure out what is it, who regulates it, what the regulation should look like, and all of this stuff. And I feel like, that is going to happen out of this. I feel like it's going to be one of those things.
I hope so. It's existential.
I hope so, Greg. I hope so. I think that's a really wonderful insight and helpful. Like, you just helped me a little bit in this moment because I just want to punch Mark Zuckerberg in the face. Like, that's all I'm just in this emotional thing where I just want to punch that punk.
Eric agrees. He's all over that.
Yeah, but it's helpful because, where this is a little bit different is I feel like lawmakers at the time could grasp what business was. I do not feel like our lawmakers. And I don't think it's that complex. I think they just have talked themselves out of being able to understand what these companies are all about. They haven't been able to reduce it down to basic greed, just look at the operations. Here's an example. They can't even just follow the money when it comes to Facebook.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have, like, Mark Zuckerberg can get in there and he starts talking about whatever he's talking about, and his tech, they have their
free
slogans
speech
and their jargon and all this shit, whatever. And, Jared, all that Silicon Valley fucking garbage that flies out of everybody's mouth. Instead of just like, you're a bunch of money fucking launderers for a global crime syndicate, and you know it. Fuck you, Yuri Milner, Alisher Usmanov. Don't tell me that you can take $200 billion plus from a Russian fucking mobster when you're in 2008, I think he took that money, pre-IPO, pre-having a business model that was actually going to bring any kind of revenue into the company, when he had burned through all the venture capital, all the VC that had been available to him. He's got this company he's building. He has no idea how he's going to make money. It was exactly like Web 1.0 when it was facing the crash. He was burning through what we call the monthly burn rate. So that's how much cash you're burning through just to keep your operation going with actually no end in sight for, like, where's my revenue? When am I going to be cash flow positive? So that's your burn rate. That motherfucker's monthly burn rate. Just go get it. Just ask him for that. Ask him for the fucking financials. What was your monthly burn rate in the 2 to 3 quarters before you went to fucking Russia and begged those people for hundreds of millions of dollars to bail your company out before you had an IPO?
And they gave you that money without a seat in the board. They gave him the money without even needing a seat on the board.
They gave him that money without shit. Shit. Then they forced a Kaspersky download. Why are you forcing Facebook people to download without even letting them know they're downloading fucking spyware on their computer? What's that Kaspersky download all about? He does that. Then, I mean, it's endless what this punk did. And it's clear who this guy was. Alisher Usmanov was in league with one of the biggest heroin traffickers on the fucking planet. And he came out of the Kremlin spy school. You're taking mobster spy money.
And Russian money. Eric,
Russian mobster spy money. You're taking that, and then he's walking around St. Petersburg with this look on his face like 3 teenagers just fucked his brains out.
And maybe
like this virgin just lost his cherry.
And maybe that happened.
Like what the fuck did he? Maybe
in a
that
hotel
happened.
Room with cameras.
So now they've got that on you, right?
He started this website because he's got no game. He started the website because he ain't got no game with the ladies. So
Did
he vote that the Russians were hot or not on his page?
Exactly. So why can't you ask him those questions? Ask to see his fucking money.
It's
ask
impossible
to see the money.
I got a better question, guys. Just looking up, and this is October 24th, 2018 in Reuters. Facebook removes 8.7 million sexual photos of children in the last 3 months. How come nobody has dragged that son of a bitch in front of Congress and said, what are you going to do about the 8.7 million files of pornography? Why don't we put you in chains right now in this room and put you in prison, remand you to custody? You are a child pornography trafficker. This is 2018. They know about this. It's one of the biggest child porn networks in the world. Why are they not? Why isn't Sheryl Sandberg in prison tonight?
Lean in, baby. Lean in.
Into your prison cell, Cheryl.
Listen, don't get me started on that woman. Right? But
don't get me started on that woman either. There's a lot to say about her.
Don't get me started on that woman. But, again, you can ask them these questions. You don't have to sit there and go, we don't really understand really what you do because you're a tech company that's somehow beyond us, and have Dianne Feinstein sitting there going, I really value everything you've done for San Francisco and California. And I'm very proud of our Silicon Valley. What are you proud of? Your Silicon Valley fucking asshole incel money launderers. What the fuck is wrong with you? Who fucking cares?
Pass the laws that are going to make this stuff illegal and police them. The thing is, you talk about confidence.
Look into the hedge funds behind those fuckers. We'll start looking into those hedge funds.
Americans love the winner, but when they get in, they don't do much. Why is there not aggressive policy making going on? Why is there so little effective?
Because of Mitch McConnell.
Yes, exactly, because of Mitch McConnell. But if you're going to want to get those policies in place, you're going to need to win big. And then you have to follow through on it and avoid all those lobbyists. We're almost out of time. I promised Eric some time with game theory questions. So go for it.
And then can we ask Greg? I want to ask Greg a question too about just writing one of the early books on Trump Russia and what you think, Greg, about where we're at after doing that show with us. What is that like? So yes, let's get 2 questions in.
Let's go
for our guys.
Do that first, and then we'll get to Eric's afterwards.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about this since you asked it this afternoon, and I don't know the answer other than what I really did not foresee was that the GOP as a party would be so in the bag and so corrupt. I really thought after Trump got elected that once his criminality was obvious, that the GOP would be like, wait a minute, we can't have this. Russia? Say what you will about the John Birch Society, but at least those guys didn't like the fucking Russians, right? And that's not the case. The GOP is they're just as bad, if not worse, than Trump. And that's been the thing that I did not foresee and the thing that's surprising. Other than the fact that we're still here. I thought this would be over by now. I thought we'd have 2 years of a flaccid Mike Pence and,
Yeah, me too. I got to be honest. I did too. I didn't see Bill Barr coming.
It's not over yet. It's not over yet. I know I'm projecting confidence here, but trying to, but it's not over yet. I think we've still got a long battle ahead of us.
No, it still could be Nikki Haley versus Biden, which I had been predicting for a while.
Yeah,
you did predict.
Let's talk about Nikki Haley and talk about Shali Kumar, the billionaire Indian. I believe his money comes from textiles like Nikki Haley's parents. Let's talk about Shali Kumar's money and his dealings with Steve Bannon and Newt Gingrich, who are the heads, I believe, of the GOP Hindu coalition is led by Newt Gingrich and Steve Bannon. You can't make that shit up, people.
You cannot. And the problem is there's dirty money everywhere in politics. It's not just on the right, it's also on the left. We'll have to figure that out in the future.
Ooh, yeah.
Eric, give us those questions for your friends in your game theory.
Yeah, This is the plug for Game Theory Today, which is my quiet, also known as The Lounge, the private troll-free discussion zone for people who like talking about this. And we got a question from one of my peeps, Robin Denning, asks, what exit strategies do you guys think Trump might be eyeing? How does he seek to evade prosecution? Your thoughts?
Defection.
Oh, yeah, he's leaving. He's running away. No, he's running to some gold-plated something with his toilet and his Twitter, where there's young children for him to abuse. This is what he's doing. He's going to run away. That's all he ever does. He's a coward, and he will run.
And his family's going to run away with him? I mean, there's a lot of people there. It's not
no,
just
he doesn't fight his family. He doesn't care about them.
No, but
He doesn't give a shit about any of them.
Okay.
No, fuck them.
But he's got to hold on. He'll
figure it out.
How's the Secret Service? They got to schedule that shit. That guy doesn't move half an inch without the Secret Service.
Okay, so here's the thing. He's been working on this. Let me tell you something that I picked up on. Everybody should go and watch. Okay, who's the guy? The CBS morning guy with the blonde hair that was there for a while, who went into Trump's right when he won, and he was in his first few days in the Oval Office, and he went in, and Stephen Colbert reacted to how Trump treated him. He got really upset, and he did that cockhold thing, and then he had to apologize for that. Who was that? Why can't I remember this reporter? Anyway, so he's in there, a very distinguished journalist. And
Dickinson. John Dickinson.
I think so. Maybe John Dickinson. So he's in there. And remember, and Trump's like, right before Trump threw him out of his office, because he asked Trump a question Trump didn't like, and goes, you can get out now. Mm-hmm. But Trump's in his Oval Office and out the window, and he's like nervous, and he's like, hey, kind of almost like coddling himself, like, oh, the Secret Service is, I mean, they're everywhere. I mean, they're right. And he's looking out the window at them. And he's like, see, they're out there. And it's like, and I'm like, oh my God, that motherfucker wants to run away and he can't escape the Secret Service. And it's freaking him out. He's sitting there thinking, how do I get out of this? Because I'm such a mobster. I'm so owned by Putin. All of my criminality and corruption is going to come out. We did all this criming in 2016 in order for me to get in there. Those are the fucking investigations that Barr's trying to shut down, right? All of it tied into all this fuckery with these people of, and he's freaking out. And all he can talk about is how the Secret Service, I mean, they're tough, but they're everywhere. They're just kind of all over me. And I was like, oh my God.
You're in the bubble, sir. You're not getting out.
You just realized that you're trapped. You're physically trapped.
But I do think there's an exit strategy in him.
He's been trying to run away. I think he's been crafting a method. I think we're going to find out that Ghislaine Maxwell is in a submarine off of Mar-a-Lago, waiting for him. Like they're going to with an oxygen tank, like that. What is that called? That movie with Nicolas Cage, one of the few movies he did where he didn't go crazy, with the conspiracy of the Masons or whatever, right? He's finding the treasure, national treasure.
Oh, national treasure.
I think he's going to that's no treasure. He's going to jump off some dock. There'll be somebody under there with some scuba equipment, put it in his mouth. Ghislaine Maxwell's waiting in her submarine, and they're going to get him the fuck out of there.
With probably $1 trillion. I mean, or more, because they have been
with all the money that
sucking the money out of the treasury, and the munition has been grabbing out of the treasury. The gold bars are all going to be there.
I think Jared is getting all that money. I think Jared's getting all the money.
They're all getting rich off this for sure.
They're all getting rich, fuckers.
Anyone else have an exit strategy, or do you want to move on to the next?
He landed a submarine. That's my exit strategy.
Thanksgiving 2020, he announces he's going to fly to Saudi Arabia or UAE or Moscow for a state visit, and he just doesn't come home.
I mean, this is what they did in.
That's the easiest thing to do.
This is what they did in Ukraine, right? They literally emptied out the treasury of it was $1 billion, I think, and I can't remember it now; it escapes my mind. But the premier, the Russian puppet there, basically just escaped to Russia. That's where he lives happily now. Now it's a little closer. It's a longer way to go for Trump to move to Moscow, but he'll do it.
He's not going to Russia. He wants to. I thought he would end up in China, maybe Shanghai. He is somewhere that they won't extradite him. I'm sure he thought about Brazil because he can claim it's political, but they're all on fire with COVID. I don't know if he wants to go there.
I don't know where he's going to land. I don't know who would take him, but
I
it would
think
be really
he'll go to
interesting.
Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia will give him. They'll put a big picture of him on the side of some building.
He could do like an Elvis. He could just disappear and and going to
No,
spot
he's
him
going to
in the
tweet.
future.
He's not going to be able to stop tweeting. He's
He's going to start a
stop
TV network. That I'm pretty convinced of. That OLN is going to become his,
Sure.
whatever it's called.
Great. Have fun with that.
Eric, do you have any others?
So, second question from Renee, and I think I have an inkling of how we might think about this. I'm wondering if Kushner has figured out he's going to prison yet.
No, he thinks he's impenetrable. He thinks he's everything proof. Like when we used to play superhero things as a kid, to be like, I'm Superman, I have this, and I'd be like, well, I'm everything proof. Kushner is still on that mindset level. I think he's really dumb. LB,
I think he's
right?
totally dumb. That's
Oh, that's the best thing I've ever heard. I'm everything proof. No,
I actually do think that there are some people who
can see
cannot
it.
get prosecuted, and I don't know, and I think he might be one of these people. There
Well, no,
there
it's not
there
that
are
fucking
untouchables in the system, and I don't know
Let's
why
see.
that exists.
he's not
but it
one of
does.
them.
I think he is.
He's not one of them. He's going to run away, but he's not one of them. We'll get him. That guy, I'll lead the charge on that. Put me on the.
I mean, if
friggin-
Epstein couldn't get in jail
Epstein.
because of working for
Go get
intelligence, then Jared Kushner can't go to jail because he's working for.
I don't think Jared Kushner is going to be hard to find. I feel like I had a friend who worked for legal aid, and he used to do things on Rikers Island, and he went to the orientation there, and the guy doing the orientation there said, "Okay, so just so you know, yes, people do escape from here periodically, but they only go to one of two places: their mothers or their girlfriends. So we spend two squad cars out, and by dinner time they're back in prison. So don't worry about a thing." And I feel like Kushner's like that. Will be like, he'll be in Livingston. Like, I'll drive and go get him. It'll be fine.
I think he might take a page out of. Which one was it? Was it Ehud Barak? Wasn't it? That
Ehud
dressed
Barak.
like a.
Yeah, he did dress.
Yeah,
Ehud Barak
when he-
dressed like a woman to take down the PLO
I
cell.
think that might be happening.
So did Jefferson Davis.
You think he's transitioning? You think Jared is transitioning as we
I
speak?
don't know if he's transitioning, but I think he'd put on a wig and a pair of heels and run his ass away.
Has anyone ever seen Kellyanne Conway and Kushner in the same room? I'm just asking the question.
Nope.
He's getting those eyebrows are done very fine. She's just had a little refreshing, perhaps. I'm just saying.
He has great
I've
eyebrows.
Never seen them
He does.
together.
He has very nice eyebrows.
His
Very well done.
eyebrows have been transformed. Yes.
have.
Kellyanne Conway
And the cut-
looks
and the
exactly
cut of
like
his
Darlene
jacket.
from Ozark. That's it. That's what I have to say.
She does. I'm gonna wait. We can't just be awful all the time.
No, we can't do.
Honestly, you guys, I think she looks really good. Is that bad to say?
Kellyanne Conway? Or Jared?
I think not Jared. He looks horrible. But I think Kellyanne Conway, like this sort of, swimming with Satan, is bringing out like her best look. She looked more haggard going into that, but the longer she's with him and with all of the whatever the fluffers are around all those people, I mean, she is looking better, and people are taking hits at her looks, and she's had surgery. So what? I'm gonna have my neck done. I gotta have it
Treason
done.
is slimming. Treason
I'm an
is
old
slimming.
lady. Yeah,
Relative
like,
to the
let's
other
look
people in the
good.
administration, she does look better than the other people.
There's a
She
portrait in
looks
her
best.
attic
She's
that's really
looking
awful.
better
though.
every
That's the
day.
thing.
The what?
There's a
Miss it.
portrait
I
in her
just think it's-
attic.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
I just
probably.
think this suits her. So when she tries to pivot away and sort of say she was the one inside saving the world, which we all know is coming from her, no, you were horrible, but you did you had a great fucking dermatologist in there somewhere.
You sold your country out, but he really could do dermabrasion like a champ. Yeah,
Great skin.
That's it.
Yeah,
Right on your
Good board.
headstone when you die. Mhm.
Yeah.
Dermabrasion? I don't
It
know.
looked great. You look like you were having a good time to us, right?
That's good stuff. Game theory today. Any more questions? Or are we? No, we're all
I think
done.
we're good.
All right. Last thoughts from everybody. What are you planning for the next week in your lives? Anything big and exciting?
It's the 4th of July, right? So I'm going to go to Moscow. I think
Yeah.
we're all going, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that
that's what one does on the 4th of July. We're expecting We're expecting Trump's taxes as well, but I guess those aren't
I
coming.
thought
out.
they were going to come. I had heard that they were going to be released this, but maybe they just, who knows?
They're on vacation with Roger Stone right now, waiting their time. LB, any thoughts from you?
I had a rough week. I don't know. I hope this next week is a little lighter for everybody. I feel like there's gonna, I think I guess I just want to, since we can talk to the audience with this show a little bit more personally, I think there's going to be really, really hard, sad waves of news coming for us again. And this is all part of this moment we have to live through. And it's miserable and it's difficult. And I've lost 2 friends already. And, I just think, just everybody to do whatever you can to take care of yourself and take care of the people you love and connect with people and call people. I really think that that's like, if we could just focus on that for the next couple of weeks, we're going to make it. We're going to make it. We're going to get to the other side of all this. But I do think it's going to be really dark ahead. And so just want everyone to take care of themselves and know that, we love you. And then when it comes to the stuff that we were pulling apart, I'm just so sad we haven't really gotten into Berman all that much. And it's so much to get through, and we need releases too, right? We can't just always be focusing on this all the time. It's hard on us, you guys. And speaking to the audience here, like the 4 of us here, you can't imagine how much work we put into even just showing up to be casual with one another because we need that release. We prepare so that we know, so we're ready for your questions and we know sort of what's going on. It takes a lot of time and energy. So you help us. And so I would like to put this call out to everybody. I just want everyone to really look at, I found this sort of interesting thing and Eric helped me with the pronunciation. Is it Tonsing? I can never say her name right. Victoria.
Victoria Tenzing, I believe.
Tenzing and Dijanova and Bill Barr. I actually think the 3 of them are a unit. And so just look at that. We have so many people who do a lot of research. Just start really, I'm going to start digging on all of that. But I've been trying to figure out Bill Barr for so long. Some stuff I've really got down. Some of it is, I can't figure out what it is. What is it? Is it Kremlin? Is it Israeli? Is it Saudi Arabian? Is it Vatican? What is that thing, that Bill Barr thing? And there's something about that trifecta that I think brings him into a little bit more focus for everybody. So I look forward to the researchers that we all work with. Maybe they can dig into that threesome if you want something to do over the next couple of weeks. We would really.
You're not saying they're not an actual throuple. That's not what you're saying, right?
Oh, well, God forbid. I have that. Don't put that visual in my head. I told you I was having a hard week. I'm having a hard week, and you're going to put that visual in there? You know what my brain does.
It's another tequila right now.
You know it. Damn you, Greg.
Wow, you went there, Greg.
Party foul, dude.
On that note, I'm going to say we have to end.
Let's end on
it's
time.
I love you guys.
Who's
there he is.
It's my Bargoyle. I created a hashtag this week.
Oh, you did? I didn't know that.
It's the greatest word ever.
Bargoyle.
Bargoyle. Oh,
yeah.
And that's it does look exactly like him.
I did it.
Congratulations.
Fucking Greg. Yeah.
We'll name the show. We'll name this episode after your Bargoyle. Then it's officially the Bargoyle episode. And with that, let's end this Friday night after show. What a great time we've had. It's been really interesting. I really hope everyone does pay attention to the bigger picture in terms of the connections, because as we look back, it could be a 80-year operation. We might find even more that we have not been seeing because we've been looking so closely at what's happening in front of us. But if you start pulling the lens back, boy, you can find a lot of interesting connections. And I'm sure we will continue to do that. So thanks for joining us tonight on Narrative Live. And we'll see you again soon, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks, Zeb.
Yes.
Thank you, Zev.
Support Narrative's independent journalism at patreon.com/narrative. And check out our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe and download.